Everyone, we'll just get started in a few minutes.
Well, I think we are ready to go. Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Sanchez, and I am the marketing coordinator at Lambda Solutions. It's my pleasure to introduce you today to our webinar. Today, we will explore how to overcome IT challenges for the new employees onboarding so we can help save your admin team significant time in onboarding your end users, such as staff, learners, and instructors. Before we dive into the exciting content that we have ahead, I would like to remind you that this webinar is being recorded, so you will have the opportunity to revisit the valuable insights shared today. The recording will be emailed to all the participants after the event. In addition, if you have questions that come up during the webinar, just type them into the Q&A section and we will answer them at the end. So without further delay, it's my great pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's webinar. Joining us is Ben Young, Senior Solutions Architect here at Lambda Solutions. With his extensive knowledge and expertise in the field, Ben will enlighten us all on the power and potential of Oomax. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Maria, and thank you for leading us in. So let's first kind of start with, why are we here? And that's to discuss Oomax. So Oomax, just to provide some information here, is a cloud-based user identity and account management application, and it's designed to help organizations save time with onboarding new users. So today we're going to be going over a few cases, and we'll be able to show you how your administration team can save significant time when onboarding end users and staff, learners, instructors, using a self-service approach. The nice thing about this is it shifts a lot of work, a large amount of work for administrators, to small amounts of work spread over a large number of people. So it's really nice to have that. We'll cover how Oomax could be a centralized place for your users to access different applications used in their learning ecosystem. And in addition to that, we'll also go over a specific use case for helping organizations that are providing training to various learner groups. This could be, for example, partners, franchises that they're sending learners to. So this webinar is for you if you are an LMS administrator and HR administrator spending large amounts of time on end user account management. In addition to that, if you want to maybe streamline your login process with social identity providers such as Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, or even enterprise login providers as well. And if you needed to have a centralized place for your users to access multiple applications. So let's take a look here, and we have a poll that's going to be coming up on screen. How many staff do you have involved in onboarding your learners from account management to course assignment? So our options are just one. You're the solo person doing all of the work. Maybe you have a team of 1 to 5, but perhaps you have more. So let us know. You should see the polls on the screen, and we'll let you fill that in, and we'll take a look at the results. So we'll just give you a moment or two more, and we will close the polls now. So we'll just give that a second. The polls should be coming up. So it looks like a fair number of you are in the range of somewhere between 1 and 5, and it looks like a number of you are actually 10 or more. So that's a fair number of people. And that definitely correlates with some of the research and stuff that we've found when talking to our clients and when we did industry research. We found that often training teams are spending over 100 people hours onboarding new learners and doing account management. So it's a lot of time. And in a recent survey held by ServiceNow, it found that 8 in 10 companies, both large and small, still use unstructured manual tools for account creation and management of user accounts. This is everything from email to spreadsheets to just personal visits where people are collecting information. And in this survey, they found also that 1 in 10 have automated application and onboarding for your employees and staff. So that's not very many. Overall, what they found is that people are spending a lot of time collecting information around the end user. So name, email address of where they're located, perhaps the job title, what team or department they belong to. And all of that takes time. It's also prone to human error. And it often leads to incomplete data. So you're not always able to capture all the information around these end users. We're finding that a lot of times that what this leads to is, IT teams or the people who are the people responsible for an application, on average, spending around $500K a year in time spent creating, updating, and removing accounts. So all of this is a very time-consuming process. And for the end user, the person who has to manage all these accounts, if you have 2 or 3 more, this often leads to you having to reuse email addresses and passwords. And this leads to something known as password and account fatigue, which we'll dive into a little bit later on. So therefore, what we've found is that the industry needs a solution, and that led us to offering Oomax, or as it's also known in full form, Onboarding Operations Maximizer. Our objective with Oomax is to really optimize that onboarding process for administrators by reducing the time spent with learner account creation and improving the overall experience for everybody involved, from security to easy management of accounts. So just a quick overview here of what Oomax offers. It helps with streamlining learner onboarding through self-service and account creation. We optimize learner enrollment and membership to courses through our codes module. And we can also collect additional information to ensure that you have a complete picture and all the demographic information about your end users. We support management of multiple distinct learner groups. So as mentioned, if you need to provide a branded login portal tailored to a specific organization's needs, we can help with that. We also integrate with any application that supports SSO, modern and old. So that's really new, really useful. And as mentioned, we also help reduce password fatigue. So we help reduce the number of accounts that your end users have to manage. So this leads us to our other poll. As mentioned, we do have the ability to integrate with a lot of different environments and applications, and it's pretty common for organizations to be using either multiple LMSs, perhaps an HRS system, Active Directory, or similar technologies. So we're interested in finding out how many of you out there are using multiple applications in your learning environment. So we'll just give you a few moments to answer your poll, and that will be up on your screen. And then we'll again take a look at the results. All right, so we'll close out the poll now, and let's take a look at those results here on the screen. All right, so we see that a large number of folks have yes, they're using some of these. Some people are using all of these and probably more, so it's really exciting to see. So in this next kind of couple slides here, we're going to be going over a specific use case where we're going to be covering this. In this particular use case, we have a training organization that's providing training to new staff members. So we have employees, and they're providing training access to the employee and then different applications after they complete training. So this is again for an organization who only is supporting one learner group or audience of users. In this particular case, the administration team needs a solution that would capture additional information on registration and help direct enrollment to the required courses. And lastly, After that training is complete, again, they need to provide access to different applications using a centralized place and only one set of credentials. So again, the challenges that are being solved is excessive time spent on setting up accounts across 3 different applications. There is manual enrollment into courses. And again, that end user is again having to memorize lots of different passwords in normal situations, manage different accounts. This leads to people forgetting their passwords, which leads to more support cases, some more time spent on account management. And again, if people are reusing their passwords across all these different accounts, it does lead to security risks as well. So Oomax is going to help with this, is going to provide essentially different access to these 3 applications using 3 different login pages. They can be branded all the same, but the nice thing is that we have a shared group of users, a shared user pool, which means that when somebody signs up, they can reuse that same username and password and update it in one place, but have access to all 3 of those different applications. So Oomax is going to be able to help with that. And the nice thing is that we do have some additional features in there to help kind of capture the extra information. So it really boils down to what we're helping with is making sure that we know who the person is. So we're doing authentication of that user outside of your application in the cloud. And then when they reach the application, we're sending that information over through an SSO process. And we're also streamlining that process and making sure the right information is collected along the way and automatically enrolling them into the various courses and groups needed in the LMS. So we do have a nice walkthrough video here that we put together, and it's going to walk us through this first case here. So we have our video, and I'll just go to full screen. In this particular video, we're using a sign-up process. We're going to be entering our first name, our last name, email account here, and setting up a password. Later on, we're going to be reusing this account across the different login pages for access to different applications. So now we set up that account, we're just going to sign in for the first time. And once we sign in, we're going to be collecting additional information on the user. So perhaps a phone number, if they want to subscribe to marketing emails and how they want to receive their certificate. We're going to be filling in an enrollment code, and then they're going to be accessing the LMS and proceeding into training. In this next video, we're using that same account and we're logging in. I started this back here at the beginning of the video. I'll just move us forward here. We'll see the enrollments code piece once more since it went by so fast. This will just give people another opportunity here to see it once more. And there we go. So in this next part of the video, we will cover the next just login or access to the next application. So same username is used. We have still branding for Q Corp being used here, and we're entering into our CRM. And I do apologize again, we're having some problem with our slides. And we do have our last login experience here. So I do apologize, we kind of jumped around there. The slides are very kind of sensitive, but we do have the ability here to kind of just jump back. And through this last login experience again, still branded as Q Corp, different login page, and we're just signing in with those same username, same password to access our, in this case, student record system. So that was a quick workflow there. And that workflow, again, just to recap, what we saw is one shared pool of users, one end group accessing 3 different applications with the same set of passwords, or the same password, same username to reach their different applications. We used our codes module to send them into the right course and automatically assign them there. So we do have our poll coming up, and our poll is just kind of wondering if you are training different partners or franchises. In our last example, we did see a shared user pool model, and it's catering towards one group of internal staff members. We can have an opposite or alternative situation set up where we have our solution set up to offer essentially different branded login pages using separate user pools to help facilitate and manage essentially training for partners, franchises, or maybe large clients even. So how many of you out there are providing training to some of these different types of scenarios where you might be working with a partner, a franchise, and you need to provide a white labeled experience to your end users? So we'll close our poll. And we can see here that, yes, we do have a lot of people servicing external groups. We do have some people doing internal training in addition to some of those external groups. And some of you are only working with one brand. All of that's good. This next example is definitely honed in on that scenario where we're working with multiple groups. So moving into our next use case. In this use case, we have a training organization that's providing training to internal staff, and they're using Google Workspace as their enterprise identity provider. And in addition to that, they need to provide a white labeled experience for a partner. So Oomax is going to help with this, is going to send all of these different learner groups, so the staff members and the partner learners, to the same LMS, which is quite nice. So just to recap again, we're helping with reducing the time with administrating these accounts. We're providing essentially SSO with enterprise or social identity providers for a streamlined end user experience. We're using Google in our example. However, we do have the option of integrating with things like Active Directory. The nice thing is that when you're integrating with some of these identity providers, such as Active Directory, when you actually offload your users and you have to offboard them and you're closing out that user account, it automatically, as soon as they're switched off in Active Directory, they no longer have access to the LMS. So this really helps with the onboarding, but also offloading of your end users, which is quite nice. In addition to this, we're also going to be using our codes module again to streamline the enrollment process. So we do have another video set up, and hopefully this one goes a little bit smoother than the last. I'm just going to get this one playing, and I'll just avoid touching my computer so it goes through the whole time here. So we're just signing up. This is the external training group. They're signing up with a username, email address, setting their password. When they log in, they're going to be essentially directed to enter in an enrollment code. So this is going to send them into the course or courses that they need to have access to. And we see that there on the screen. In our next example, we're just bypassing that whole signing up process, and we're going to log in with our Google account. So this might be for any staff members that have that. And we're just using an enrollment code again to provide us access to the courses we need. So now we've done that. We've taken a look at that particular use case there. That leads us into a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes here of how Oomax administration works. So we've moved away from the video screenshots there to some stills to give you a little bit more time to digest this information. On this particular screen, we do have a back-end kind of look here of what it looks like to set up different brands or profiles. On the screen, it's possible to see where they're going to be reached underneath. So that's the domain name. So that's the URL they're going to be accessed under. We have the option to configure the branding for each of these different profiles here. And we can also manage the codes module. Let's take a look at that particular piece because it's quite interesting. So if we opened up the codes module here, this gives us a preview of what that looks like. On this particular screen, we have the ability to actually set up the enrollment code. We can set the number of uses, and we can even choose which courses it's going to apply to. On our next screen here, this is just a summary of usage. We can see the date when a code has been added. We can see the actual code itself, the number of uses and the maximum times it could be used, which courses it applies to, and its status. Additionally, on this page, we do have the ability to perform actions on the code. So we can activate it, invalidate it, edit or even copy the code from this area. So that was a nice preview there of the back end of Oomax. And this brings us to a close of our webinar. We do have a special offer for all of you at the very end. And so stay tuned for that. But just to recap, with Oomax, we really focused in on optimizing the end user account creation and authentication process with a self-service model. We took a look at how Oomax can support social or enterprise logins, such as Active Directory. We used Google Workspace in our example. Oomax also provides organizations the ability of serving different learner groups with a branded login experience, such as in the case with partners, franchises, and clients. Oomax also, again, integrates and works as an identity provider across all applications compatible with any modern or legacy LMS. And then overall, this just helps improve the organization's security posture, and it helps reduce account management and password fatigue for the administrators, but again, also for the end users. So we do have a special offer, which is introductory pricing for all of our attendees today who would like to take immediate advantage of getting the software up and running for your organization. If you're interested, set up a meeting with one of our sales reps. For a little bit of context, a basic Oomax site with a single brand with up to 500 learners, including our codes module, comes to less than $1 a year per learner. The more learners you have, the less it costs and the greater time savings for your training administrators. So we'd be really excited to talk to you. And if you do want to reach out to us, here's the email address that you can do that at. It's sales@lambdasolutions.net. One of our representatives will be in touch with you as soon as you send us an email to take advantage of this special offer and introductory pricing. So we did reach the end of the webinar here, and we do have a little bit of time for some question and answer. So happy to dive into those here. So I'll just bring up our question and answer kind of poll here. And let's see. So we do have a question around, is there a limit on the number of login pages an organization can have with Oomax? So there is no technical limit. There is essentially like some value pricing that kind of ties into each essentially brand. But overall, no technical limit. This is designed as a cloud-based solution. So it's highly scalable, very robust, and highly available. It can handle millions of user accounts. We have another question around what is the language capabilities. So currently we have this translated to French and English. It's really easy for us to update the languages. So if you need it in Spanish or a different language, for example, it's really easy for us to do that. We're happy to kind of do that as needed. Is it possible to use it to authenticate into other applications, such as HR systems or Active Directory? Yes, it is possible to do that. Again, just to kind of go into the backside of it, we are using different authentication protocols such as OAuth or SAML to connect into various applications. These are industry standards, so it makes it highly compatible with a lot of other solutions out there. So it is possible to integrate a lot of times with other applications as needed. Let's see if there's any other questions. Looks like those are all the questions that came in. If you do have any other questions, feel free to email us. We're happy to start up a conversation and go from there. So thank you everybody for joining us today. That was our webinar on Oomax, and stay tuned for additional webinars in the future.